Yoo-hoo! The ultimate game box device from USF. So welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be doing an overview and an in-depth review about the Game Tower R4 Pro. So this is actually in revision. I did like a first initial video and that one came with some little bit of an older software. The Game Tower R5 Pro is actually like a Raspberry Pi inside of a case, but a complete package that contains all kinds of features. So first of all, I think one of the things that really appealed most to me is going to be the semi-light gun situation. It's just going to be a remote of the Wii. There's actually an original one over here that you can actually click and just make yourself a pretty cool overall configuration. It will come with a sensor, so we're going to be putting batteries inside the remote and putting everything in its place. But it's kind of cool that it's going to be giving you this 3D printed piece of bracket that I'm going to be putting upon top of my monitor to actually mount, well, like that's not actually mounting, but putting the, let's say, sensor there. So we're going to having the same configuration that we did before. Overview of the Xbox 360 controller, it's going to be in Quake 1 because this is a pretty decent overall wireless edition. You can buy these things nowadays on AliExpress, but where he found it, I have no idea, because the overall D-pad is pretty good. I think that's a common problem with most of these clone Xbox 360 controllers. So the overall feel is quite good. The ABXY is getting close to the original one. And I must say that I am really pleased with the overall, let's say, Xbox 360 clone controller. Comes with this massive dongle, so it's going to be in plug-and-play situation, mini HDMI and power supply. And then we're going to be having the updated manual. So one of the things you need to do really is just read through, with the simple reason because the Retro Tower R5 Pro, you're going to be needing a little bit of an in-depth situation, like how everything works when it comes to turning off, turning on the system and everything, because there's a lot of features inside of this thing that need to be actually like checked out before you're going to be having all the full, let's say fun with this. Because in here, like the light gun, how you're going to be needing to set it up and everything, and I mean particularly when it comes to the plug and play and how that actually works, because all the other stuff has been done inside of the firmware. And I mean particularly when it comes to, you don't need to do any configuration of the controller. It's going to be in plug and play, but there are some things that you need to know. The Raspberry Pi is quite a powerful device and we can do a lot of cool things, but you need to set it up, or at least normally. So with the Game Tower R5 Pro, we're getting something that's like a plug and play situation. But in here, this is not like in case you're going to be printing and putting everything in, because there is a little bit more technical stuff to it. First of all, we're going to be having the on-off switch that need to be programmed. And of course, we're going to be having a little bit different configuration, because over here, we're going to be having 4 ports at the front. USB 3.0, where you can plug in all of the controllers. At the back, we're going to be having a micro HDMI is called, and a 5V 5 amp that we're going to be needing. And yeah, that's actually the power supply over here. Yeah, that's what this is for the Pi. So we're going to be needing a beefy power supply. But let's hook everything up and let's put all of my batteries in, because this thing already had batteries, but everything was complete with batteries, so it's going to be easy. But another cool feature if you're going to be powering on is going to be having the LEDs over here. That looks pretty cool, because you can actually like boot it up and change it out inside of the software itself. So the overall design is pretty cool, and it is quite silent. Despite there is a fan over there making some noise, I must say that, yeah. But all of the things plugged in, you can see the dongle at the front, and we're going to be having USB for the sensor bar over there. So, but that's something we're going to be checking out later on. Let's take a close look at the software. What's changed out and what is updated? But in this video, I actually wanted to do a deep dive into the software part. In part 1 actually, or the previous model, we actually checked out hardware and everything, didn't tear down. But I just wanted to see how it is with the software, because this actually has been upgraded with many new platforms. The Pi 4, if you're going to be optimizing this perfectly, you're going to be having a pretty cool overall emulation performance. But how good it is, that we're going to be finding out today. So let's start off with some simple stuff and let's see if it's going to be actually working out. The first platform I actually wanted to check out is something you would not expect from me over here on the channel. It's the Sharp X68000. Yeah, I just wanted to check it out. Only 47 games are available on this, but I think it's a pretty cool system that I've personally never owned back in the day. So I think it's always like a very fun overall situation. Atomic Robo Kit. Like, what the heck is that, you know? So far everything seems to be nicely done when it comes to the overall setup. You can see that there's like a preview picture. Some even have a movie. That's pretty cool. But if you're going to be looking into some games, let's see what's going on. We're having Pac-Man, we're having Pac-Mania. And I must say that with this particular system, I'd never seen it before, so it's going to be interesting to see how good the overall quality is. I was really curious about how it is with some of the games. So viewpoint from the Neo Geo. Let's see how this is actually running on this particular system. Graphical wise, this looks pretty good. A lot of the sound effects are sounding slightly different than the original game from the Neo Geo arcade. Another system I love is going to be some Panasonic 3DO, where not like a gazillion good games out there. But still it's like fun, battle chess. Let's see, BC Racers. Did they not port this also to the Sega CD? I think they did actually. Yeah, Johnny Bazooka Tune. There's another game. Didn't even know it was on the 3DO. I did see it on the PlayStation 1. Shockwave. Soccer Kid. Oh yeah, the 2D platformer. But one of the things I wanted to check out how it is when just going to be playing some shooters. Let's see how the overall performance is with that. I said actually shooter, I just wanted to check out if I can find the overall, let's say, most famous Alien vs Predator shooter game, but it was not there. And I'm guessing this has to do because it's not supported or some kind. Nevertheless, let's check out some Return Fire. Let's see how this actually runs. Yeah, I must say that this is nice. This one's pretty good. Yeah, nothing weird going on over here, so yeah, that's nice. Let's check out some Street Fighter. It's actually one of the couple of games I mostly play on my Panasonic 3DO. And with previous game boxes we couldn't play this at all, so let's see how it runs now. But so far I don't see or hear any weird things going on, so let's get into the gameplay. The D-pad of the controller is pretty good. So Street Fighter runs like a charm from the Panasonic 3DO. But how about the Amiga? Only 21 different games, so that's actually not a lot. Crazy Cars 3. Let's see what's going on over here. We're having Gloom. That's more like a ripoff from Doom, I'm guessing it is. Wow. No, that is something I'm not going to be testing out. So Lotus 3. Let's see what's going on out of the box. So the D-pad has been mapped to the arrow over here. So let's go with Championship. I was really curious how this was going to be working out. Oh wait, this is Lamborghini Challenge from the Super NES. Oh yeah. So that's absolutely awesome. Pass required, okay. I guess I need to choose a stage. Then you need to go bidding and stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's kind of funny to see that, how this actually works on this particular system. But I think we're not driving Lamborghinis, right? Or do we drive actually Lamborghinis? Let's see what's going on over here. Let's get into the gameplay. Loading, and just black screen. There we go. Yep, it's the same game. Oh, I must say, Amiga overall quality of the graphics is quite nice. Unfortunately, no background music. Yeah, we also got the Nitro. That's my rival. But yeah, this seems to be working fine. Not a lot of games, but it works fine. And we do actually have arcade, and where arcade we're going to be having new stuff. So of course we're having the light gun games that have been put in a separate folder. So something we're really doing different, like check. So we're having the different kind of platforms like Sega Model 3. That's something you don't see very often. So far I didn't see any weird things going on. Oh, this is kind of cool. Aquajet. Ooh. So this looks really nice. So, you know, when it comes to this kind of, let's say, emulation, this is the stuff, Aquajet, a great example that you didn't see before on those cheaper game boxes or in classic Xbox with emulation with coin-ops. But let's deep dive into Aquajet because I'm now really curious. No, I can actually hear that it does stutter in the beginning. Let's see what's going on. And yeah, I can hear from the audio. I think you cannot really hear it on the microphones, that the audio is a little bit choppy. But this is pretty cool. Of course, this game was actually made for a full-size arcade machine. We're having this machine that you need to tilt and everything. So this is absolutely a very weird way to play. But I just wanted to do a testing to see what's going on. So yeah, this is a playable situation. That's cool. Oh man, this is such a cool game. Bonanza Bros is absolutely awesome. Played this actually a lot. I have no idea how to shoot. There we go. Wow, that's a beefy cup. But with arcade, there's actually so much that we can do. Wow, okay, so we do even have the Cruise in the USA in the world arcade versions? Ooh. Okay, so let's see how this actually works out, because we do have this weird situation with the joystick, because this is normally played by a racing wheel. You know, let's go with the full crazy game. So this is a different way to play, so let's go into the gameplay itself. The selection of the menu was a little bit different. This is actually the first time that I'm playing the real arcade version of Cruise in the USA. Man, this is really cool. Because most of the time, even on those, let's say, Chinese, let's say, arcade machines, they always use the N64 version somehow. So yeah, this is really cool. It's really sensitive, the joystick, that's one thing. Okay, we can use the D-pad for changing out the angle. But the overall emulation performance is really good. So with arcade, there is so much crazy stuff that we can actually look into. We can make like a separate dedicated video for that, but the point is, let's see, I don't know if the Killer Instinct game was on here. That is of course the question. A game we normally couldn't play on most of the game boxes is the main Tekken, and I must say that I am really surprised with the overall configuration of the Pi 5, how powerful this freaking thing is. And yeah, we can actually play some Tekken Tag, the arcade version that we can normally only play on, let's say, mini PCs with Baldacera. And I completely chose two different checks I've never played with. Getting my ass kicked over here. Ha, finally, I managed to find the freaking game, and yep, we can actually play Killer Instinct 1 and 2 on this device, so that is pretty wicked. So arcade wise, we can absolutely play a lot of different stuff on here. Moving on to the Atari Jaguar, and I had massive brain fart earlier when I was talking about the video. I wanted to check out Alien vs Predator, but that's on the Jaguar. So let's boot it up and let's see if this runs good enough to enjoy. So there's one of the nice testing games to check out. Let's see how the overall emulation performance is. We're going to be playing as the Marine. I always find these Alien games pretty spooky. Let's figure out which button I need to press. Okay. Yeah. I don't see any weird things going on. The weird things going with the audio. I did had like this tested before many boxes. Some of them had like a weird crackling noise. Eat, light and die. Atari cards. That was another thing. I can't remember which. Was it like with the previous update that I had some issues with this box too? Sometimes I'm testing so many products that I completely forgot what was what. But Atari, let's go. Getting some street racer vibes here. But also this seems to be running fine. So it's pretty cool to see that we can play some Atari Jaguar on emulation now. Can I shoot or can I do something? Or this is just driving around? No violence. But also, I'm always listening, looking into the graphic, but also listening to the audio itself. But yeah, this is enjoyable. Or at least the gameplay, not the game itself. It's quite boring. So let's move into the Sega Dreamcast era. And with the Sega Dreamcast, we're going to be having some pretty cool things going on. So I don't want to do deep dive into upscaling whatsoever. So out of the box, the Dreamcast is a system that can be played on many different devices. Also here we do have actually some light gun situation. But again, I'm going to be doing a separate section of the light gun. So when it comes to overall emulation performance, I wouldn't expect any problems whatsoever. You even have the option to having some Dolphin Blue with the port to Dreamcast in here. So when it comes to playing just overall Dreamcast, yeah, you can actually do that fine on this. So let's do some testing. With, for example, having the Sega Dreamcast and the port from the Thomas Wave, if I'm saying it correctly, with Metal Slug 6. However, this runs pretty good. It runs fantastic. Love it that everything has been put to native resolution, no bezels implemented. So they implemented the widescreen. I think that's the hack you can actually implement over here. But yeah, Sega Dreamcast looks absolutely amazing. You can play it without any problem now. So the game tower is absolutely a beautiful capable device, or actually said like the Raspberry Pi 5. Ooh. And in here we're having the game tower. And the game tower is actually going to be options for having the RGB light to set to a different color. We have more options over here, so we can clear less plate list, restore the game tower control mapping, and show temperature and disk space. However, we can also shut it down here and restart the game tower if you want to. But let's move into some other stuff that we were missing out with the first edition. For example, Game Boy Advance. This clearly runs on original, let's say, resolution. So have been mapped perfectly to the aspect ratio to the monitor. That's the reason why we do have like these black bars at the side. But beside that, this is just going to be running pretty well. And yeah, we can run GBA on so many freaking devices now. So you don't really need to buy an expensive, really expensive Pi 5 to have like this actually played on your screen. We have a gazillion options now that cost a fraction what this thing costs. But if you're going to be having all kinds of different games, for example, if you want to play GameCube games, GBA is of course a great addition. And with the GameCube, yep, this is another system that was highly requested for many years, but now can actually play that, and I think that is very cool. However, let's deep dive into some games. Oh yeah, Burnout 1 and 2. Oh man, I played these games so much, and they're absolutely a lot of fun to actually just to check out. Continue without saving, that's what I'm going to be doing now. Let's deep dive into some overall emulation performance and see how the game runs. So what I understand of the Game Tower R5 Pro, it's going to be like optimized to like the crazy situation, not the stuff that we have seen with the Chinese plug-and-play solution. This is optimized so we can actually play these games, enjoy them. And you can just see over here, this runs very smoothly so far. Absolutely great. Select start, we'll bring you back to the menu, and in here we can choose a different game if you're not done playing. What is pretty cool that some of the games, and even putting it in the title, that we can do have an implementation of having a widescreen hack implemented. So if you want to do that, that is even possible with some of the GameCube games. But let's push it to the limit with some F-Zero GX. But I understand that the first time you're going to be booting it up, it can be a little bit stuttering here and there. But you know, let's get into the game and let's see how it will run if you're going to be playing this for some time. It's interesting. I don't know if this is due to the widescreen hack or what is implemented, but you can see some parts is a little bit messed up. You can see that this is not normal. This is not like supposed to be. But let's boot it up and let's see what's going on. So how many frames per second we're getting and how stable this freaking thing runs. So let's do a close-up of the game. So far, nothing weird. Oh, we still have some weird thing going on over here. Still a little bit struggling. 30 frames per second. But this is absolutely clearly that this is going to be pushing the game tower to its limit. Okay, so this is absolutely unplayable at this point. Let's give it a little bit of a try. Whoa, slow motion. So one of the PCs I tested out was the N100. In combination with Bodosera, we had the option to actually play GameCube and even do a little bit of upscaling too. So yeah, this is unplayable. So this should be doing a lot of tweaking to get this maybe to work, but so GameCube is absolutely pushing this device to its limit with F-Zero GX. And the light gun games, yeah, we're not going to be doing that now. We're going to be skipping this to the last part of the video. I think that's going to be the most easy way to go. So let's go into some Megadrive or Genesis, as some of you know it. Let's see how it is. There was no hacked edition. Sometimes we have these very cool folders having hacked games on there. But I'm not expecting any problems when it comes for playing these overall, let's say, 16-bit games. Because, you know, you can run this like on a Pi 3 or in a really cheap game box. And again, like I mentioned before with the GBA, if you want to play these games, hey, it's a really cool addition, absolutely. But if you're going to be looking into this, you need to take considerations that we're going to be having absolutely so many cheap options. I think if you just want to play some Sega Genesis now, we have like game sticks that cost like 15 bucks that can just do it just fine. But all kinds of cool quick load, quick save solution. Beefcake! 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 Yeah! Come on, who's first? Who's first? Who's first? Where it gets interesting is the N64 part, because this is another system that is always so difficult to over-emulate. Yeah, so let's deep dive in a couple of games to see what is going on. With Blast Corp starting off, one of my favorite games to just test out, because this game is also a quite difficult one. Struggles a lot of many game boxes. Did hear the hiccups, but it's forgivable. So far so good, with the minor hiccups. Don't see any weird things going on. Time to get moving. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, I did some hiccups here and there, so still hiccups. So at this point I would not say this is like perfect emulation. Yeah, that's what I mean. So N64 is not perfect, so let's go to another game. I still remember that Golden was actually my second game I've purchased from the N64. But however, this seemed to be working fine, no glitches, but that's to do with the emulator. But the reason why this freaking game is so hard to emulate is because in the original hardware days, this game was pushing the N64 to its limit. So it makes it even more difficult to over-emulate on devices. But we have come from far when it comes to emulation, and yeah, this seems to be running quite well nowadays if you're going to be comparing like with the cheaper game boxes. But again, with N64 emulation, I'll be testing this on many different devices, also mini PCs with Bodosera. Alright, so we're going to have the same situation like with Blast Corp, but still I actually wanted to check it out for you guys. So where this thing is super difficult to emulate, this runs pretty well, I must say. He did a great job with everything, like the controls. That was another thing. A lot of those cheap China game boxes messed up, and yeah, this seems to be working just fine. There we go, sniper mode. Yeah, there we go, there we go. Yeah. No, don't do that, don't do that. Don't do. But in the end, there is so much stuff you can play, which you can just see over here. But this is going to be really interesting with PlayStation and PSP, because there are like systems that were always like really difficult to emulate. So Neo Geo, also here we're going to be having no problems whatsoever. And you know, this is just going to be an overall fun, let's say, add-on. You know, an add-on to the overall, let's say, device. And with some Art of Fighting 3, we're going to be having no problem whatsoever. Now let's see how the D-pad is. Yep, the D-pad works perfectly for fighting games. I did test it out a couple of times now, but I just wanted to make sure. So I don't really want to focus too much. Same goes with the NES. This is a new add-on because I think the original system didn't have that. But NES, same situation, works like a charm. But the first edition was missing out a lot of different platforms that we had before. So yeah, this is just great. Worked like a charm. He didn't implement the turbo buttons. No, he didn't. Another cool system is actually MS-DOS. This is one of the things I really started to like, because it reminds me of my first PC I was just messing around with. I think it was on Pentium 1, like in 73 megahertz. And you know, Destruction Derby, Duke Nukem 2, Just a Jackrabbit. You know, there are some pretty cool old school games. Simpsons the arcade game. Okay. And some Wolfenstein 3D. I must say that the list itself, I do miss out a lot of classics. Wacky Wheels. Yeah. Oh wait, this is the one. I was waiting. Yep, this is the one. Yeah. Come on, the key. Yeah. With MS-DOS normally you need to have a keyboard, but this is not the case, because we're going to be pressing A and it will automatically start into the commander key. And let's see what's going on, because no, I cannot really recall playing this game. But let's go further with some PlayStation 2 emulation, where this is absolutely one of those platforms that's going to be pushing the Pi 5 to its limit. So we'll be surprised about which games will be perfectly running on this, but you know, we're not going to be testing out a gazillion different games. But one thing is for sure, 187 Ride or Die works like a charm. Because we actually do have some PlayStation 2 emulation going on, so I think that's pretty cool. I think some random games in here. I think God of War will be like pushing this absolutely to its limit. Or in other words, it's like the question if it's going to be even playable to that point. But I can tell you that already it was really slow into the intro, and I'm already having an issue with the intro itself. I mean, like, there is no audio of the God of War 2 intro. Oh, there we go. Already from the intro you can see that there's freaking a lot of lagging. You will suffer for this. So let's get into the game. Let's see how optimized this is. Well, so far, so good. I must say, I think he implemented some frame skipping or whatever, because I do have the feeling that it's not running on full 60 frames per second, but it is a playable situation, so that is cool. I'm just randomly slashing into the wall. PlayStation Portable, and other system that was always quite difficult to emulate with some older devices, but now with this newer Pi 5 we're going to be having some really good overall performance games, also with the change of kinkiness with God of War. And yeah, we can just play all kinds of cool stuff here. Mortal Kombat, yeah, that is one of those games. When we're looking at it, it's not like running on, let's say, high resolutions at this point, but let's see how it runs out of the box. It's absolutely insane. If you think about it, like what we had like within like say a couple of years of overall emulation performance. So it's just absolutely awesome. So Deception and then the lines and stuff like that, I did actually play. But I must say that I was not always like a really big fan of it. For me it started all the way like with Mortal Kombat 9, where I was like the new generation is getting really cool now. How can I grab this thing? I have no idea. But PlayStation is a system that can be played without any problem whatsoever. You know, this is a system that, you know, natively, this is not going to be an issue whatsoever. Jumping Flash 2, cool. Jumping Flash was such an interesting game. I guess I remember playing number 1, and this first-person jumping, first-person adventure shooting game was so cool. You know, it was something different. Double jump. Boing, boing. Mario style. I don't have like the second analog stick. And what we needed to do is actually get all the carrots, and then we can actually just go ahead to the next stage. With all of these fantastic stages. This looks like a freaking theme park. Sega Saturn was introduced with some of the cheaper Chinese game boxes, but most of them had like really overall horrible performance. So it's kind of cool that we actually have one. We even have some light gun situation over here. Ooh, Fridge Cup, cool. Okay, so let's see what's going on. I don't know if Die Hard Arcade is on this, because I think that is one of the better ones to actually try out. What's Trilogy? Oh, Trilogy, bring back some good memories of the PlayStation 1. But Die Hard Arcade is not a very difficult one to emulate here. And simply like it's going to be like such a complex, let's say, system, and that we can just run it now with an Pi 5. It's already pretty cool. And what you can actually see that it runs on native resolution quite well, so that is cool. Die Hard Arcade was such an interesting concept. I just really experienced this like way later on. Never seen it. I think Sega Saturn was one of the systems that was not like for sale on many stores here back in the day. It was all about PlayStation 1, so yep, this was one of those exclusive titles. What can I grab here? Did I just grab a pill? What? In the Hunt was one of those games I just discovered lately. I think I played it somewhere. I don't know if it was ported actually to the PlayStation 1 back in the day. But this is a pretty cool like shooter, or shmup actually. And such an interesting concept where we can launch rockets and or torpedoes, and having rockets for the surface. And we're going to be hovering, we're actually having bullets, so that's pretty cool. But what I understand, this is a one-hit situation. We need to be very careful, we need to be very tactical, don't hit the mines. And of course those freaking annoying helicopters that drop just randomly freaking bombs. There we go. But this is a really good port, so what I can see off. Oh, that's where the bombs are for. Man, that is really cool. Whoa, slowdowns. The Sega Model 3 arcade. We almost skipped it because it was also implemented in the arcade section with a special folder or like a quick shortcut. So we do have like multiple games over here. Spike Out, Waving Virtual Striker. Not a lot of them, but let's get into the Sega Rally 2. The unfortunate part is that we still have the bezel around. So that's one of the things they didn't fix. I'm guessing it is not possible to fix. So yeah, that's quite unfortunate. However, let's get into the gameplay. Let's see how the Sega Rally 2 actually looks, because I'm kind of a big fan of the Sega Rally series. Wow, this looks really good. Wow, I'm really surprised how well this looks. Unfortunate of the bezel, but also the screen resolution is this. What kind of monitor is displayed? You know, look at how freaking wide it is. Yeah, this game is absolutely like ultimate Sega Rally arcade. This is so cool. Of course, it's an arcade game, but you know, it's like the crazy over-the-top rally, you know, like you're just floating here on the freaking track. Man, this is such a cool game, and it runs pretty good. So if they can manage to fix this freaking bezel, that would be awesome. Woohoo! Yeah. But okay, that's the thing with the Sega stuff. However, let's having Super NES, yeah, there's another system that was missing on the previous update. And yeah, when it comes to 16-bit Super NES, yeah, it's not going to be an issue playing this at all. Did it right? So normally with Chinese boxes, I'm always testing, or I at least try to test every single platform that's on there, because they mess up stuff, the weirdest stuff, like Super NES. But with an optimized box like this, nah, was not really afraid of that. So let's see what's going on over here. Yeah, there was no problem here at all. Doesn't matter what game you're going to be playing. Last but not least, the Wii section. And we do have some interesting titles. The what? With the Wii, we're just going to be checking out some simple games, like this particular drifting game. Okay, car category, small, medium. Let's go with that. Let's see how this actually works out, because I'm always like fighting with these controls. I'm going to be pressing Y at this point. Let's get myself this smaller black car. Pressing start over here to boot up the game. And let's see how this works. It's not like the most difficult game to emulate, but I just wanted to see what it is. Okay, D-pad's perfectly configured so far. Or... oh, seriously, I was I was thinking like, who I am, what character do I am, like, you know, I don't know. This seems to be working just fine. And graphical wise, this is pretty cool. This reminds me of Mini Motor Racing. I missed the guy from the freaking track. There we go. Moving up a spot. Getting the hang of it. Oh, still into freaking... woof. Moving on to another simple game, some Tetris. Man, I love Tetris. It's one of the games I keep buying, you know. No, I don't want to hear the rules. I just want to freaking play the game. So let's go. Ah, beep, 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 beep. So let's do one more game, and depending on what kind of game you actually want to play, there is a support list. But in the end, if you're going to be looking into the situation, like how does this work, I must say that I'm surprised of the overall Wii emulation as well. We have seen some stuff with the GameCube, so I'm guessing it's not going to be perfect, but we have come from a far end, let's say, testing different kind of devices, and man, the Pi 5 is insane. Woo! That leads us to the last part, the light gun situation. Yep, and this is going to be a combination of all kind of emulators. Yeah, so let's deep dive into it to see what you can do. And when it comes to the PlayStation part, we do have some really cool overall games that we can check out with the light gun. I think that's one of the cool overall features of the light gun itself. So configuration of the light gun is something I also showed in the first part of the video, or at least like the previous video, but you need to read through the manual because you need to do it right. But if everything works like a charm, you can just boot up the game from the remote itself. So yeah, this is absolutely awesome. Another thing is, you can actually see the Corsair, but I need to be far away from the freaking television. So normally I'm recording it like this, but no, this is not going to be working. I think we need to be having 2 meters. Yeah, something like that. So we're going to be needing 2 meters around that to actually just to play this. So yeah, that's actually how it is. So one of the cool things with the overall situation, if with the light gun, there is a rumble, of course, to control, but you're only going to be having this if you're going to be holding it longer than a couple of seconds. However, let's get into it. Come on. Can I skip this? Thank you. Press the A button for reloading. So let's go with the flow. Oh, I keep pressing the start button. We do have a cursor when it comes to certain parts. So it's going to be more like an easy way to play this. But yeah, I think that's the light gun. I think that's one of the cool features, where this thing is powerful enough to run even Dreamcast, PS2, Wii, GameCube, whatever. I think this is absolutely awesome. Can we reset it? Yes, by pressing both of the minus and plus button on the controller. We can just reset it and go back to the menu. And let's go. So we tested out Dreamcast for the emulation testing. We already know it works. But let's test out a couple of more games to see how fun they are. On the Wii, having Counter Force game. Never heard of it. So let's see how much fun is it. Oh, that goes automatically. Oh, that's weird. Oh, there we go. I think I have to do with the cursor itself. Yeah, I need to click and point at the screen. I was messing that part up myself. It makes me wonder what kind of game this is. Is it like a rail shooter, or what kind of game is it? This was actually made for the Wii, so... Ah, okay, so you need to use the D-pad, and you're going to be needing to aim. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I cannot really hold the button, so... Can do... Oh! An A button actually gives me like triple shot. Oh, that's cool. So move into... So let's go with some arcade with Judge Dredd. And you know, this is a game I have some good and bad memories with, because the first time I ever played it was on the PlayStation 1. I bought it for some money I saved up, and oh man. I am the law. Oh crap, I need to shoot off screen. Oh, and A button was like some super? No. But if you're going to be pointing off the screen, seems to be working fine. You're just going to be shooting everybody or what? To be honest, I never liked this game. Another arcade game with Point Blank number 3. Do you have any idea that there's a little bit hiccup? "20 seconds. Shoot at least 14 of them." Oh, I love these crazy games. Oh, they are so much fun. I think Point Blank is still one of my favorite series to actually play, you know. The simple reason it's so cool, you know, when it comes to these mini games. And, oh yeah, 21. PlayStation 1, let's see. Okay, we need to press 2 buttons. Press A and B. No. No idea. No idea. No idea. Oh. But the overall gameplay itself is just great. There's nothing going on of weird things. But I think the green little crosshair you can see over there, it's because I've hooked up a controller now. But emulation performance, nothing weird to see over here. This works very well. It's kind of funny, but still have the flickering of, let's say, actually the original system, because this game is actually made for a CRT. I just wanted to reboot it again. This time without the extra controller, but no, it's still having this weird thing going on. Okay, just wanted to make for sure. So it has nothing to do with the actual controller. So let's get into some Sega Saturn, the same situation with the extra cursor on screen, but I'm not going to be bothering about it anymore because there's something else going on. Now loading, please wait. Let's see how I can reload. Okay, just pressing A. And with Sega Saturn working well, that we have seen before, also we're going to be having some really cool overall light gun gaming here. Oh. So when it comes to the PlayStation 2 emulator, it's going to be slightly weird because we're going to be holding select and Y. And then we're going to be going to the load state. But the only load state is on here. That is actually save state number 7 that I made myself to check out. And it says here in the packages, like inside of the game, press Y, blah, blah, choose load state, then select either save 2 or 3. But guess what? There is no different slot because that's it. It's the only thing that is in here. So that's a little bit of a bummer because it would be very cool to actually mess around with this particular game. But yeah, nope. I just wanted to remove the other side to see what's going on, and that's kind of cool that they implemented over here to LED strips. But the way how they actually made it is nice. It's interesting to see that the LED lights I already shown you are like a separate piece over there. So that's actually like just clicked in. So if you want to do a teardown, normally what is supposed to be the idea that we can just slide this thing out. So we're going to be leaving it in here and we can just slide it out. But something is actually blocking its way. And I'm just going to be honest, at this point I am not going to be sliding any further because I know it's going to be something I'm going to be breaking, and that would be such a shame. You can see this is connected over there. It's just actually in the Raspberry Pi with an extra PCB at the side that's configured together. But besides, there is something going on. If I'm going to be sliding out, something is stuck and I can be pushing it, but I'm not going to be doing it. I did ask him like how you need to tear down it, but to be honest, there's nothing much actually to see in it anyway. This is just a Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi 5 that's inside of this thing is absolutely a crazy machine. And now with this complete kit, we have some really cool plug and play fun. However, it comes still with limited limitations, but it's going to be better and better over time when it comes to having updates, but also when it comes to actually like new hardware. But for now, the Game Tower R5 Pro has a lot of cool features. Of course, this is not like the best light gun solution because we do have like way cool ones out there. But this kit, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Let me know in the comments what do you think of this, and it will be great to see you in the next video.